Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing great. So today in this class we are going to learn about the components of computer. In yesterday's class we learned about the history of the computer and we learned the data measurement units in computer, and then we learned about punch cards, Pascaline, Leibniz wheel. We learned father of computer, father of modern computer science, father of personal computers, and then we also learned about the different types of computers back then, uh, Mark 1, ENIAC, UNIVAC, and we learned about the Charles Babbage, Ada Lovelace, who is the first programmer, and Charles Babbage, who is the father of computer. So now in today's class we are going to see what are the components of computer. So let's start the class. So if you're new to the channel, do consider subscribing it. So let's not waste any time. Components of computer. So there are input devices, there are output devices, and then this is CPU. CPU has control unit, ALU, and memory unit or internal memory. And we are in this components of computer we are also going to learn main memory, secondary storage. So let us start. CPU stands for central processing unit, and it is also considered as the brain of the computer. So you know about the CPU, right? Since childhood we are learning this, that CPU is the brain of the computer, CPU is the fastest. Okay, that's the CPU. CPU is also called as processor, microprocessor, or microchip. Any name we are referring to CPU itself. Okay, CPU is also called as processor, microprocessor, or microchip. So there are some parts of CPU. They are arithmetic logic unit, control unit, and memory unit. We are going to discuss all these units in a detailed manner. So do subscribe the channel and stay tuned. Arithmetic logic unit is a unit where this is used for calculation and comparison. Okay, using the arithmetic logic units we will do the calculations and comparison. Control unit, as the name itself suggests, controlling and coordinating is done by the control unit, and this control unit is also called as the nerve center of the computer. Okay, CPU is what? CPU is the brain of the computer, and control unit is the nerve system of the computer. This kind of name, like a nerve center, in examinations they can ask what is the nerve center of the computer, then you have to go with the control unit. So remember this, nerve center is control unit and brain of the computer is CPU, central processing unit. So memory unit, primary memory. In memory unit we are going to discuss about this primary memory later in the series of lecture. We will cover primary memory in detail. Since we are talking about the memory unit, let me tell you what is a memory and the types of memories, examples of memory. We will discuss memory first. Okay, memory is actually of two types, primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is also known as main memory or internal memory. Okay, and secondary memory is called as external memory or auxiliary memory. So the examples of primary memory are RAM, ROM, cache, and the examples of secondary memory are floppy disk, hard disk, and pen drives. So there are another kinds of memory that are registers and virtual memory. We will be discussing those as well. Okay, register are actually the smallest unit of memory. We will learn in detail. While we are discussing the registers, we will also discuss the types of buses, what is a bus, etc. So let's not worry about that. Let's learn about memory. Memory is of two types, primary memory and secondary memory. And another thing is, only primary memory is considered as memory unit but not a secondary memory. Okay, and yeah, what were we discussing? Memory is of two types, primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is also called as main memory, internal memory. Secondary memory is auxiliary memory or external memory. These are the examples of primary memory and these are the examples of secondary memory. So now we are going to discuss about the RAM, which is an example of primary memory. RAM stands for random access memory. So one thing, don't worry about why I haven't discussed the input and output devices yet. We will be discussing them in a detailed video because I'm discussing about the memory unit and you will be having no idea about what is a memory, what is a primary memory, secondary memory. So that's the reason I have started with the memory. And once this memory is completed, then we will go for input devices and output devices. Okay, RAM stands for random access memory, and the purpose of the RAM is to store the data and instructions that the CPU needs to access quickly while the computer is running. Okay, so let me give you an example of why this RAM is used. Anytime if you are playing a video game, let's say, all the data that is related to the game, that's um, the data that your computer's processor needs. Let's say your CPU needs the data of the game, right? So all the data that the game requires, the CPU requires to process, that data will be stored in RAM so that the CPU can get it quickly. Okay, you're getting it, right? So to access the data or the programs quickly, the CPU uses this RAM. Okay, the purpose of RAM is to store the data and instructions that the CPU needs to access quickly while the computer is running. RAM is a volatile memory. Let's understand what is a volatile memory. Volatile is nothing but a temporary memory. Means the data is lost when the power is turned off. Let's say you're having a system. If you switch off then all the data that is stored in the RAM is gone. That is the meaning of volatile here. So RAM is a volatile memory. The meaning of volatile is that if the power is gone, the data is lost. Your data will be no more. So yeah, what were we discussing? RAM is a volatile memory. The data is lost when the power is turned off. So it is used for temporary storage of currently active data and programs. What are these programs? Programs are nothing but the set of instructions. And what is a process? Process is a program that is running. Okay, program is a set of instructions, and let's say if that program is running in the running stage, then it is called as a process. Easy? I think I'm clearly explaining it. If you have doubts, do comment them in the comment section. I will make another videos if this is not clear. Okay, so we were discussing about RAM. What RAM what is the need for the RAM? So it is used to store the data and instructions so that the CPU access it quickly while the computer is running. RAM is a volatile memory, means once the power is gone, the data is all lost. It's a temporary storage. So what is a program? Set of instructions. And what is a process? The program that is in running stage is known as process. So let's see the types of RAM. We are not going to discuss them in a detailed way. We are going to make it simple, since we are not preparing for an mains exam. I mean not an IBPS SO mains, specialist officer mains, right? So all you have to do is clear the computer awareness paper. So this much is enough. We don't need to go in depth into the topics. So types of RAM are SRAM, which means static random access memory. The full forms are very important, so make sure you make the notes of this. DRAM means dynamic random access memory, and SDRAM is synchronous dynamic random access memory. VRAM, sorry for the spelling mistake, VRAM. VRAM is video random access memory, and NVRAM is non-volatile random access memory. This is used for big companies. Okay, as a name suggests, see, non-volatile. Volatile means what? Volatile is the temporary one, so this will be non-volatile, means the permanent one, means the data is not lost. Non-volatile random access memory. Full forms, you need to remember this. This is important, okay? So far so far we learned so many things, right? In the first class we discussed the fundamentals of a computer, and then the purpose of computer. We discussed the characteristics of computer, and then we discussed generations of computer, which is again an important topic. And then in the second lecture we discussed the history of computer, again an important topic. And then we learned about the different data measurements units. And then in this class we are discussing the components of computer. We will be discussing the ROM now, which is read only memory. So yeah, we are discussing memory, right? In that memory part we are discussing the primary memory for now. Okay, secondary memory we have in this video, that will not be possible. We will be discussing that later. For now, let's concentrate on the primary memory. Okay, now let us understand what is ROM. ROM stands for read only memory, and unlike the RAM, which is volatile memory, ROM is a non-volatile memory. That is, the data that is stored in the ROM is permanent. Even if there is a power loss, the data will be remained. The data can only be entered once and cannot be modified later in the ROM. And the information or the program that is stored in the ROM will be in the binary format, and it is used in the startup process of the computer. So this is about the ROM. ROM stands for read only memory, and it is non-volatile. That is, even if there is a power loss, the data will be remained. The information or the program that is stored in the ROM is in the binary format. It is used in the startup process of the computer. Okay, and the very important thing is the data can be entered once and cannot be modified. We cannot modify the data in the ROM. So now the types of ROM. There are three types of ROM. One is programmable read-only memory, PROM. The full forms are again important. EPROM stands for erasable programmable read-only memory, and EEPROM. This is electrically erasable programmable ROM. So let us understand what is PROM. PROM means programmable read-only memory. Users can program PROM once, but it cannot be reprogrammed. They can only write once and they can read many times. That is known as WORM. WORM stands for read once and write once and read many. In the PROM, we can only write once, we cannot modify it, we can read it many times. And in EPROM, that is erasable programmable read-only memory, EPROM can be erased and reprogrammed. The only thing here is the erasing part. It is done by exposing it to the UV light. Okay. In PROM, we can write once and we cannot modify it. We can read as many times as we want. In EPROM, we can erase it and reprogram it. The only thing is how we can erase it. We can only erase it with the help of UV light or UV rays. Now, electrically erasable programmable ROM. Unlike EPROM, it doesn't require UV light or the removal of the data, but we can erase it using electricity. Can be erased or reprogrammed electrically. So these are the types of EPROM. So what were we discussing? We are discussing about the primary memory or main memory or internal memory. In that we have discussed RAM, this is ROM, and the types of ROM. Now we are going to discuss cache memory. Cache or cache memory is the smaller and faster memory that stores copies of data from frequently used main memory locations. Let's say, I will give you an example. I watch Tom and Jerry a lot. So what I do is I open Google and I search for Tom and Jerry. I'm doing that daily, let's say 10 to 15 times in a day. So every time I'm searching, it means that I'm accessing the data from the main memory if there is no cache memory. If there is no cache memory, I will be accessing the main memory again and again. So it is not an efficient way to use it. So what a cache will do is that it will store a copy of the data from the frequently used main memory locations. Okay. In such a way, we can reduce the average time. Okay, average time to access the data from the main memory. That is what I have written. Cache memory is a smaller and faster memory that stores copies of data from the frequently used main memory locations. And the most important use of cache memory is that it is used to reduce the average time to access the data from the main memory. So for a clear understanding, I have even given a diagram here. Just see how the data flows. So if we are accessing the primary memory or the main memory again and again, it is not efficient. So the cache memory, what it will do, it will store a copy of the data that we are frequently using. That means the memory location that we are frequently using, and from that cache memory we can access it quickly. Okay, it is the smallest and the faster memory. So these are the RAM, ROM and cache memory. RAM and its types we have discussed. ROM and its types we have discussed, and we have discussed this cache memory as well. Today let's keep this much. I think it is enough. So in tomorrow's class we will discuss the registers and virtual memory. I hope you are liking the sessions, and I really request you to please give your feedbacks in the comment section, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching. All the very best for your preparations.